Welcome into PFF TV. Steve Palazzolo here with Sam Monson. We're going to break down some players on the cusp of elite status. We've been breaking some of these guys down in some of our other videos, but let's isolate them once again, starting with JuJu SmithSchuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, a golden opportunity now that Antonio Brown has moved on to the Raiders.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And from everything we've seen from Smith-Schuster so far, it looks like he can succeed, A, on the outside, because he first broke into the NFL really as a slot receiver for the Steelers, but also outside of the shadow of Antonio Brown. When you look at some of the more advanced numbers last season, he got open as much as Antonio Brown did, if not more. It's difficult to quantify exactly how much of that is Brown, pulling coverage away from him, adjusting the sort of the lean of safeties, all that kind of thing. But right now, every data point we've seen from JuJu SmithSchuster says that he can be a legitimate number one wide receiver, and he's still only 22. 22!
Yeah. You don't like doing the age thing, but yeah, he is still young. Incredible production so far in his career. You mentioned it, though. 64% of his routes from the slot. So the big question is, will he transition smoothly on the outside when he has to maybe flip the script a little bit as far as how often he has to do it? But we've seen him in contested situations after the catch. He's done a fantastic job. Another name on the list, O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Bucks. We thought he got off to a slow start as a rookie, was not the run blocker that we expected, had too many fumbles that first season, but last year, extremely productive in an explosive Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah, and the box score numbers don't look great for Howard. You look at it, he's yet to top 600 receiving yards. He hasn't topped, I think, 35 receptions in his career so far. And this is at a time where tight end records are being broken every single season, whether it's Travis Kelce, George Kittle. The numbers are getting pushed further and further into crazy receiving territory. Howard isn't there yet, but if you look a little bit deeper, the sort of the rate numbers, the per reception or per route numbers look a hell of a lot better. Last season, in terms of yards per route run, he was, I think, second behind only George Kittle. That's exactly where he was as well when it comes to PFF grade, right up there in that elite status. He had incredible yards per target number, how deep down the field they were, average depth of target. And now coupling that with Bruce Arians and this sort of deep volume passing attack offense, things are set for him to really explode in 2019 in the right scheme.
Yeah, much like JuJu, it's going to be opportunity driven for Howard. He's shown that ability to stretch the seam, and he is a very good run blocker. That's what we saw at Alabama, and he did do a nice job in that area last season. Let's move on to Quinton Nelson, the guard from the Indianapolis Colts, who, his overall grade wasn't great, but he got off to a slow start. He gave up a ton of pressures early on, but then you started to see he cleaned things up in pass protection, and he's always been that top-notch, elite-level run blocker, expecting him to be even more comfortable in year two.
Right, and this is one of those situations where it seems like we're behind the curve, right? Because if you listen to everybody else, well, Nelson's already elite. He's already the best guard in the NFL. He was before he put on an NFL helmet. That was the hype surrounding him, and I think he'll get there. But as you said, year one was a slow start. He didn't play well early in the season, but by the end of the year, he was absolutely cooking on gas, firing on all cylinders. Every metaphor you want to use, he was dominating by the end of that year. I think this season we'll start to see him become the player that the hype had suggested he was all along.
And we weren't really behind because we did have him as an elite level guard coming out of Notre Dame. We just looked at the first 6 to 8 games of last season and said, okay, just wait till he gets settled in, and then he showed it in the second half of the season. So expecting big things from Quinton Nelson. And let's wrap it up with Cleveland Browns edge defender Myles Garrett. We always knew he had all the tools, the size, the burst, the power to be an elite pass rusher. He has shown it in segments, over the last couple of years. He's continued to get better, but I think there's still a next step for Myles Garrett to take.
Yeah, and he's a player whose situation, I think, in 2019 will be significantly better than it was a year ago. One, because they've surrounded him with a lot more talent. Sheldon Richardson has come on board. Olivier Vernon was traded from the Giants. They're bringing additional players to play alongside him so the teams can't simply concentrate all their energy on taking away Myles Garrett. And then the other thing is Greg Williams has departed, and apparently Greg Williams was basically restricting Myles Garrett to 2 pass rush moves. It's like, these are the things you're good at.
It's crazy.
If you do anything else, I don't want to see it. I want to see you do these 2 things and nothing more. Whereas obviously Garrett wants to use the full array of moves he's got, set up offensive tackles. It's just being less predictable will make you more efficient as a pass rusher. So this is the year we could see him dip into the full bag of tricks and break out everything he's capable of.
Myles Garrett had the number 8 pass rush grade among all year 2 edge defenders in PFF history. Here's the list that he's behind: Von Miller, Joey Bosa, Sean Merriman, Yannick Ngakoue, Khalil Mack, Cameron Wake, and Elvis Dumervil. So we definitely see guys that have had extended, long careers rushing the passer. Expect more of that from Myles Garrett. There you go. It's just a handful of players who are on the cusp of elite status. Let us know who you think is the next great superstar in the NFL.